Yeah, I want to ask you then about where we're at right now, and I'm going to quote from you, and I'll give you, I guess, a little bit of my view on it. But you quote, this is a recent piece in The Nation. You write, Biden is not a movement builder. Neither is the Democratic National Committee as it currently exists, but the policy task forces announced this week by Biden and Sanders camps hold out the promise that the party could, in this period of social and economic crisis, become something that the vast majority of Americans can believe in. Now, I guess on one hand, I have the folks who I think are, pushing to do another let's, vote for some third party candidate that gets 500,000 votes. And I think not only doesn't contribute, I think that actually deeply continues to marginalize a progressive agenda, and frankly would undercut what Bernie Sanders has really done in these two runs, which is show you that there is a serious mainstream electoral appetite for things like single payer healthcare and a concern about the inequality crisis. So I resist that, and I have no problem telling people my position has been vote tactically and vote strategically. And if, as an example, you think that trade unionism is essential for not only the revival of the left, I'd frankly say the future of democracy. You have to look at things as boring and as limited, but frankly as relevant as who are you going to get on an NLRB appointments between a Biden or Trump. And that in and of itself means that if you're in a swing state, you should vote strategically. It's not that exciting. It's not, it annoys people, but it is what it is. I can't give people a fantasy version of reality. Now, on the other hand, and I want you to respond to that, obviously, but on the other hand, I think that there's a good medicine in the truth that this was a really big loss. I think that we kind of learned from 2016, or maybe even 2016 was a different historical circumstance where having some things put on a platform maybe signified something. I think it's very clear looking at how Pelosi's managing the House, who the brain trust is around Joe Biden, that this is, even some cases physically, literally on its last legs, this is a corporate third way, center right Democratic Party. And we haven't figured out how to change that yet in any substantive way.
You just put it all on the table, brother.
All for you.
So let me take a moment and
please
try and but it doesn't take that long, because hopefully a good answer, to the extent that there is one, isn't complicated. I mean, we go to the heart of the matter. So let us go back and we were talking just a moment ago about when Barack Obama was president of the United States. Look, we know that Barack Obama knew what we know. He was actually a guy who was steeped in a lot of progressive reading and discussion and thinking, and yet he came into office and he governed in a much more centrist way. I think at the end of the day, that harmed his ability to achieve things that I believe he could have achieved. And I think that we should always look at our history in that way. We should understand where mistakes are made and hopefully try not to make them again. So do we blame an individual? And because there's such a desire on the part of folks who deal with politics to blame individuals. Oh, that guy let us down. Right. That woman let us down. I'm going to tell you this. The Democratic Party lets its own presidents down, right? Because the Democratic Party doesn't give a ironclad agenda. There's not a purpose, a clear purpose to winning, except beating the Republicans. And that's not enough. The Democratic Party has to lock in a set of premises and principles that if it gets power, it will seek to achieve. And it has to take that risk of saying to America, you give us power, we're going to do a Green New Deal. You give us power, we're going to really address the criminal justice system in this country. You give us power, we're going to do these things. That's fundamental. Now, what happens with that? Well, then people come to you no matter how boring your candidate is. You got a Joe Biden for president, people are still going to say, yeah, but this party, if it comes to power, it's actually going to do something. Well, the cynicism about the Democratic Party at this point is well grounded, right? It does pull punches. It does fail at the moment when it should rise. And so that's why I suggest that these task forces that have been created, which I understand fully why they were created, at least why Biden wants them. He wants them for window dressing, right? For this will make us show unity and stuff like that. I say those are always the time when power makes its biggest mistake, right? When they invite you into the room to show unity, that's the point at which to say, yeah, I'll give you some unity. I'm going to give you an agenda that is based on what 70, 80, 90% of Americans support. Single-payer Medicare for all healthcare, a Green New Deal, ridding our politics of the corruption based in our deference to corporations. I'll give you a unity agenda. And, I don't know what will come of these task forces. It may, crumble, crash, and burn, and then we'll be stuck right where we are today. But boy, why not have a fight? Why not go and stir it up? And why not perhaps say to folks that these delayed elections that will occur in June, all the primaries that are to occur, why not say to folks, hey, you could vote in those primaries to send in a signal to the task forces and the party. I don't even care if you like Bernie Sanders. You can dislike Bernie Sanders. You can say he's not the one.
No, you can't. Come on.
Well,
don't be a chump like Bernie Sanders.
I like him, but I'm going to tell you, I'm willing to build the biggest coalition possible.
Yeah,
I'm a coalition builder. And I'm saying, say to folks, whatever you think, if you want single payer, if you want a Green New Deal, if you want to really get serious about addressing economic and social and racial injustice in this country, if you want to start talking about peace and ending the influence of the military-industrial complex on our politics, cast a primary vote that empowers these folks like AOC and Sarah Nelson from the flight attendants, and Stephanie Kelton, the great economist, and the folks from the Sunrise Movement who are on these task forces. Let's give them a boost and go for what might happen. Now, if it fails, right? That's why the good Lord gave us a long period until elections, right? We can sort out what we think. We can sort out how we feel about these things. But, if you're fighting for the soul of the Democratic Party, if that's the purpose you've chosen, then fight, really fight. If you choose to do a third party, I'm not going to condemn you. And I'm going to, people in a democracy, you have a right to commit to the political journey that you're going to take. But I'm going to tell you that if you're fighting inside the Democratic Party, you do Joe Biden no favors by going soft. You do him no favors by, saying, yeah, listen to your consultants, keep doing the things you've been doing, keep, go down that center route, go down that center right route. Just tell people you're slightly better than the Republicans, and that'll be enough. That does him no favors, none at all. And so, frankly, in this case, I think that also does our democracy no favors. I think what I hope to see in November is a transformational election. I want a 1932. I want a 1940. I want the big one. And here's the interesting final thing I'd say, coming off your very good question. If we're in a circumstance like this, if this is the battle that we're on, then we have to say, well, maybe there's stuff that's bigger than us. Maybe there's stuff that's bigger than personalities. Maybe there's stuff that's bigger than parties.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, a global pandemic and the worst mass unemployment in history.
Yep.
Shouldn't those realities, those overwhelming realities, open up doors to a new politics, right? And if wherever that new politics plants itself, whatever, if it plants itself in the Democratic Party, if it plants itself somewhere, but boy, shouldn't we open up to a new politics, to something more and better, because the solutions are not going to come out of the same old places. And then some countries went to the right. They went toward authoritarianism, toward fascism. Remember, some of the worst players in the world competed in elections. They gamed them, they cheated, but they competed. They were in the game. Other countries went the right way. Other countries went to the left. I don't know exactly how this moment compares to the 1930s, and I'm not making, immature, childish comparisons. Things are different, times are different, etc. But boy, if we are facing a global pandemic and mass unemployment, shouldn't we be trying with everything we've got? Because we know that going to what I describe as the left, going toward a Green New Deal, going toward economic and social and racial justice, going toward an anti-militarist vision, going toward an anti-imperialist vision, I think that's the way out. I think that's the answer, or at least one of the answers. So shouldn't we fight for that with everything we've got?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. This was such a great conversation. John, thank you so much for joining us and talking about your book and, some of your thoughts about where we are in this current political moment. Everyone check out his book, The Fight for the Soul of the Democratic Party, The Enduring Legacy of Henry Wallace's Anti-Fascist, Anti-Racist Politics. John, thank you again.
I'm really honored to be with both of you.
It's great. Thanks, John.